one Sunday before we can celebrate the feast of the ascension of Jesus into heaven, the church invites us through the readings to ask ourselves what our response will be when Jesus is invited into heaven by the Father. In the first reading from the Acts of the Apostles, we are told about how Phillip became in every sense of the word an apostle after the heart of Jesus. The word apostle comes from the Greek apostello, which means to be sent. And Philip went to a town where people did not know Jesus. And in that town, he not merely proclaimed Jesus by the words that he spoke. He proclaimed Jesus primarily by the actions that he performed. So the reason why Philip could make people whole, could exorcise demons, could cure the lame and the blind and the sick was because he had faith that his Lord would accompany him, and his Lord accompanied him on this journey. And because the Lord accompanied him, many who were unaware of who the Lord was became aware through the revelation that Philip made to them. The revelation of Philip never remained at the theoretical level. It was always a revelation which was translated into action. And that is why in the second reading of today from the first letter of Peter, chapter 3, verses 15 to 18, Peter says that anyone who believes in Jesus has to make him known. This revelation of Jesus, according to Peter, must not be made in arrogance. It must not be made in pride. It must not be to show that we and others are superior and they are inferior. It must be done with the utmost courtesy. It must be done in the manner in which people will be drawn to listen and experience. So the revelation of our faith has to be a revelation which will invite everyone to show that Jesus himself was inclusive and never pushed people away from him. Anyone who wants to experience the truth in Jesus must be welcome into the community. The community has to represent Jesus not merely by the words that they speak, but by the actions that they perform. In the gospel text of today, just before he is taken up into heaven, Jesus reiterates what is said by Philip and what is done by Peter in the gospel text of today when he begins by telling his disciples that if they love him, that love will be shown in their keeping their commandments. The commandment which Jesus gave was a commandment of unconditional love. When he came into Galilee proclaiming the good news of God, this was his proclamation that God loves. And therefore, we must respond to that love. And that's why Jesus tells his disciples that they will show their love for him, they will manifest their love for him only when they keep his commandments, if the commandment is to love others, to reach out to others, and to be of help and service to others. Jesus came not as a warrior Messiah. He came as a Messiah riding on the colt of a donkey so that he could reveal to the world his own idea of kingship. He was a king who came to serve. In his kingdom, authority meant service. In his kingdom, being first meant being last. In his kingdom, wanting to take the first place meant willingness to take the last place. And because it is not always easy to follow this way, Jesus goes on in the gospel text to say that he will give to the disciples an advocate. The word advocate means someone who is called near, the parakletos, someone who is called near and to defend oneself in time of trial, to help oneself in time of trial. This is who Jesus will give to the disciples. He will not leave them abandoned. He will not leave them without help, even though he cannot remain with them, but must ascend to the Father. He will leave them along with an advocate who will reveal to them not a different message, not a different commandment, but the same commandment which Jesus already revealed, which was a command that he received from the Father. So whether it is the Father, whether it is Jesus, whether it is the advocate, the revelation is the same, and the revelation is of a God of love. Philip took this challenge up when he went to those people who never knew the Lord and revealed himself and the Lord to them. Peter asks us to reveal that Lord not in an arrogant manner, but to reveal the Lord in a gentle manner through which people will be drawn to the Lord. Will you reveal God, Jesus, and the advocate, the Paraclete, the Spirit, in the same manner today?